Welcome, everyone, to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. In Hebrew, our name is Bitronistim. IDSF is the leading Israeli organization advocating for strong national security to defend Israel. Thank you so much to all of our viewers. Thank you to all of our supporters for tuning into this briefing so that we can really bring you behind the headlines, what is happening here in Israel. It's a great pleasure to be joined today by Lieutenant Colonel Gidi Harari. Gidi, thank you so much for joining. Gidi, maybe we can start off with, you've of course been on these briefings a number of times and are no stranger to our viewers, but maybe we can just start off with you telling us where you are located right now. What is it like to be where you are, and what is the general sense in your community?
Well, I'm located in the Moshav where I live. It's some kind of a small village in the northeast part of Israel, 1 mile from the Lebanese frontier. And actually, we are 10 months already in a state of war. Every day there is a rocket shooting in the area, not specifically on the place where I live, but all over this area. A lot of drones activity, a lot of IDF Air Force activity, and actually we are in a state of war. The place where I live is evacuated. I stayed here because I'm part of the first response team of this village, and this is where we are. About half an hour ago, there were rockets shooting on Kiryat Shmone, which is about 6 kilometers from here. So it's actually a fighting war routine.
Gidi, let me ask you, before we get into more technical issues of the threat coming from Lebanon, I'm just curious to know, we're only a few short weeks away from the new school year beginning. What percentage of families are home? How is life going to resume in the coming months as normal? Will it resume as normal?
Well, it's really a very big problem here now, because actually what happened here is that the population was evacuated until 5 kilometers from the border, which is about 2 miles, I think, a little bit more. And but there are already many kibbutzim and moshavim here that are half a mile from my village, and they are not evacuated. And the problem is that most of the schools here are very close to the border. So what happens, it doesn't matter if you are evacuated or not evacuated. Actually, you cannot send your children to study at the schools that they were studying last year. So what they did, the regional councils that are here, what they did, they hired some big buildings about 15 miles from the border, and they converted them into schools, primary schools or high schools. And the intention is to bring the students to study there. But the issue is that many parents are afraid to send the children in buses from where we live to the schools. The schools are safe, but the road, it might be dangerous. So now I don't know what is the percentage of students that children that were registered into the schools for next year. But there is a problem. How to start this next year of studying, and they are just these days working very hard to give some solution to the parents so they can be quiet that their children are safe. This is the most important issue.
Now, as a resident of the North, what do you think is the main priority for the government, for the army, in terms of the northern border? Is it the decisions, are they being made in terms of what's best for the residents? Are the decisions being made what is best in terms of a strategic response to Hezbollah? What do you think is establishing Israel's response in the north?
Well, it's all sadly, I say that it's also complicated because the strategic response for the government and the army, it's not exactly the same response that the community wants. Because the community, of course, everyone wants to go back to their homes and go back to study in the schools and go back to normal life. This cannot happen now. It cannot happen now because the situation between Israel and Hezbollah and the Iranian regime is that we are almost in a complete war. Now, here, the residents of the North, what we are asking the government is to, once and for all, if it needs to be by a total war, we want to finish the business with Hezbollah. When I'm talking about finish the business, we are not going to conquer or invade Lebanon now. This is not the issue. The issue is to push them back from the border and to make an equation that for them it will be a higher price to pay if they go on shooting on us than if they will stop shooting on us. But also in the other side, between Hezbollah and the Iranian regime, also there is not the same interest in both sides. I mean, the Iranians, they want to low down the flames because they are afraid that Israel and the American coalition will use this point where we are in order to attack the nuclear plan in Iran, or for example to attack the biggest port of export of petrol from Iran to China. And this will be a big tragedy for the Iranians in terms of economy. Hezbollah, on the other side, they want to attack Israel as strong as they can after we killed their high command Fuad Shukur, which is actually, military speaking, is the number 2 in the hierarchy of Hezbollah after Hassan Nasrallah. So also between Iran and Hezbollah, they see the future in 2 options. So the question is, who will be stronger in taking the decisions, either Hezbollah or the Iranians?
And just to clarify, you are advocating, and you're saying residents of the North are advocating for a full war with Hezbollah. Does that include Israeli boots on the ground in southern Lebanon?
It might include Israeli boots on the ground in Lebanon in the close few kilometers from the border. Not a total invasion to Lebanon, not to reach Beirut. This is not the idea. The idea is just push back Hezbollah about 10-15 kilometers from the border.
And during that escalation of that war, what would life be like in the Galil, in the Golan? Would it be drastically different than now, or would it be no different than threats potentially to Haifa and to Tel Aviv?
It will be more drastic in Haifa, maybe in Tel Aviv, because we are in a state of war. We are 100 rockets more to be shot on the Galilee. It doesn't matter. We are getting shot every day.
Wow, that's an amazing thing to hear, that boots on the ground in southern Lebanon, an escalation where the entire country is at risk is almost the status quo for what you've been dealing with up there. So let me ask you, what is the greatest threat right now from Hezbollah? Is it the rockets? Is it a concern about a repeat of an October 7th type attack? What is the big fear?
The truth is that most of the population here in the north are much more afraid of the raids that might be done by the Radwan force into Israel, like was done in October 7 in the Gaza Strip. This is the big fear. And the rockets, we know to live with the rockets. We know how to deal with them. It's a big issue because we have here families, women, children, old people. This is a big issue.
Now, obviously, you can't go into all of the details about the planning, but you're on the emergency response team. Do you feel that the government has supplied you with the equipment that you need to prepare for those types of potential raids in a way that the southern communities did not have on October 7th?
First of all, the first response to these raids is the army. The army, which is spread out along the border, and they are very ready and very well equipped. Also, all the first response teams along the border were much better equipped than in October 7, and we are very ready, yes. We improved it very much.
That is very good to hear, obviously. And then in terms of the drones that come in through southern Lebanon, and suddenly we see videos of them flying through Israeli skies that people are taking with their own phones, and you're wondering how is there enough time for people to take these videos without them getting shot down? So what is the current status with Israel's response to those drones?
The problem with the drones is that the fighting jets that are trying to shoot them, the drones are flying too low and too slow for a fighting jet like the F-16 to shoot at them. And the Iron Dome, we are shooting Iron Dome on the drones, but it's not good enough. In the last weeks, I know that we are trying a new old weapon that we believe that will be very good for fighting the drones, which is the Vulcan cannons, which is 20 millimeters, firing 6,000 bullets in a minute. And this is might be a very good response to fighting the drones on low speed and low altitude. It might be very effective.
In terms of the threat posed by these drones, are they, every damage is damage. Are they just menacing? Are they the same threat level as rockets or other guided missiles? The fact that Israel has not created a more effective response, is it just that it's not the top priority?
The drones, the biggest drones, they can take more or less 50 kilos of ammunition. So it's a lot of ammunition. I mean, if it falls on a house, it will destroy the house. But the biggest rockets that they are shooting on us, they have between 100 and 500 kilos. So, of course, the rockets are much more dangerous, but the drones are much more effective to the long-range attacking.
Sure. Now, when in these briefings, when we talk about Gaza, we talk a lot about the supply chain to Gaza and kind of sealing off Gaza so they can't resupply and get more munitions. And that is now happening on the Egypt-Gaza border. But explain to us Hezbollah, because in theory, there's no way for Israel to seal off the borders of Lebanon, Syria, and everything north and east of the country. So a war with Hezbollah or destroying Hezbollah munitions, what does that accomplish if there's almost an endless supply?
Just to give you an idea, Hezbollah today, which is like a small army, yes, but it's an organization, it's not a national army. They have the biggest rockets arsenal in the world. They have more rockets than the US or Russia. It's amazing. We're talking about between 150,000 rockets or maybe more. There is no country in the world that have that kind of arsenal. So it's not an issue that closing the border or closing the supplies of the ammunition from Iran to Lebanon, because everything is already in Lebanon. The issue, the big challenge here will be to attack the places, the warehouses and bunkers where they have the ammunition. And this, I believe, will do, but it's not 100%.
And do you think that the U.S. presence here in the Middle East provides a deterrence for Hezbollah? Do you think that it's what's potentially delaying them from escalating?
I think that the U.S. Presence here is very important strategically. It's a very important deterrence for Hezbollah. It makes them think twice which kind of payback they will try to do against Israel. Because if there will be a miscalculation and they will shoot too much or too heavy or make too much damage on civilians, it will be tragically for all Lebanon.
Okay, I want to, of course, thank all of our viewers who are sending in their questions during this program, who are sending them to me before and after the program. Thank all of our viewers on YouTube who subscribe to our channel and allow us really to bring you the truth. And Gidi, I want to ask you some questions that viewers are sending in, the top of which is, now that you've described the arsenal of Hezbollah, so the question is, does Israel have what it takes to defeat Hezbollah, given its massive size?
Good question. I think yes. I think yes, because having 150,000 rockets doesn't make you to win a war. At the end of the day, Israel is a very modern and technological state, and the IDF is a strong army. And it's not that they can shoot now 10,000 rockets in a minute. In the other side, Israel also can shoot rockets, and we have a lot of drones, and we had a very strong Air Force, and we can attack them and hit them very strong. So casualties will be in both sides, and everyone will suffer. But who is the last man to stand? I believe it us.
I'm with you on that, and I imagine most of our viewers or all of our viewers agree with you wholeheartedly. Another question that's coming in, and again, thank you for everyone sending the question, is the issue of tunnels in southern Lebanon and potentially even tunnels built by Hezbollah that breach the border. Any thoughts on that you can share with us?
Well, first of all, let me say that after October 7, everyone understands that in order to invade, you don't need the tunnels. And building tunnels in Gaza, it's very easy because of the geology. The geology of the north is much more complicated. A lot of rock and volcanic rock and another kind of rocks, and it's not so easy to prepare these tunnels. And I believe that they might have some tunnels that are reaching almost the border. I don't believe that they have today tunnels that are crossing the border. And even if they have, so we will have to give a solution to it in every place that they will come out. And I believe that we can do it. But the tunnels, it's not the same issue that we are speaking about in the north. I'm talking. It's not the same issue like in the south, and it's not like the same issue as we spoke about it 6 years ago. Let me remind you that after 6 years ago, Israel discovered by intelligence operations, if I remember well, 6 or 8 tunnels from Hezbollah going into Israel, and we destroyed everything. And I believe that today the IDF has a pretty good idea if there are tunnels, there aren't, and where they are. But Hezbollah have another kind of tunnels, which are strategic tunnels, about 45 kilometers north from the border, where they have a lot of weapons, many rockets, and these places will be attacked, I believe, on the first 10 minutes of starting the war.
Lieutenant Colonel Gidi Harari, thank you so much for joining me today. We have just a few minutes left. Are there any issues, any thoughts you'd like to share with our viewers that I didn't get the chance to ask you? Anything you want them to know?
First of all, I think I feel obliged to mention that bringing back the kidnapped most of all of them, of course, but first of all the women and the children and all the people that are there must be the first issue to deal with, and the most important. Israel is a country that the life of our people is the most important for us. It's not like the guys from the other side, that the death is sacred from them. For us, life is sacred, and we should bring these people back home. This is the most important thing.
Well said. Thank you so much. We are a country of life, not a country that celebrates death. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Gidi Harari, for joining.
Thank you very much, Moshe.
As always, and thank you for defending the North, for being up there. Thank you to all of our viewers and supporters for tuning into this briefing. We will be back with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. here in Israel. Until then, stay safe, stay strong. Take care, everyone.